Correct.
And start.
Well, welcome. We're very happy to see everybody's joined us on this lovely summer evening, and we do appreciate that. Next to me is Dr. Fichte, our surgeon du jour, as it were, and a couple of housekeeping rules, just so you know, or things to remember. By attending tonight's webinar, you do receive a $50 off per eye discount towards your procedure if you decide to go forward with it. And you obtain that, obviously, by the fact that we know you're here, obviously. Our refractive surgery coordinator, her name is Erin. She's also present. She'll be answering questions on the chat box over to the side. So if you have a question, you can just type it in. And if we don't get to it, she will. By virtue of just how to get to us, info@fichte.com. You can always send in an email about questions. You can call the 800-309-2020 number. Erin's direct number is 564-4234. So if you need to, 564-4234. To kind of start off, we kind of prime the pump, as it were, by Dr. Fichte and I will just chat a little bit about some of the things that people ask us all the time. So, Dr. Fichte, tell us a little bit about, first of all, what, a lot of people, what is LASIK? I mean, it sounds simple, but most of these people probably know, but talk to them about, how this actually fixes your vision, please.
Well, LASIK is using laser energy to reshape the front of the eye, the cornea, which is that clear structure that we see through. And by changing that shape, it changes the optics of the eye. And so, originally the procedure was called PRK because the laser just worked on the surface of the eye. But then some brilliant scientists figured out that if you make a flap in the cornea, then you can, by lifting that flap and treating underneath that flap, that you can effectively do the same thing, change the optics, get rid of people's glasses, and they have a faster and more comfortable recovery. And so the ultimate thing currently is to do all of that using laser to make the flap, which means it's more precise. And also the software treatment patterns for treating prescriptions has gotten better and better as people have adopted, really kind of space age tracking technology.
So we do a lot of what's called all laser LASIK. And there's machines that are right behind us. One just over our shoulder is what's called an excimer laser that changes the shape of your eye. And the one that's kind of over my right shoulder is called a femto laser that makes a flap using bubbles and energy. In fact, they did this for me a couple of years ago, and I had all laser LASIK. And the advantage is you heal faster. And the second question that always comes up is, does it hurt?
No, it doesn't hurt at all. The procedure itself is painless. And the main reason is because the eye drops that we use are so powerful. They just totally numb the eye so that the patient has no sensation. Now, of course, after the surgery is complete and someone is now in recovery phase at home, as the anesthetics wear off, patients with LASIK do have about an hour or so, sometimes several hours, where they feel almost like their eyes have a bit of a sunburn, a little bit of a scratchy feeling. And so that doesn't last very long, and we usually tell people, go home and take a little nap, close their eyes, and that gets them through it.
I see, I don't interrupt, but I see Chelsea asks us, which we always get.
Yes.
Tell them about astigmatism. It sounds like a horrible thing.
Okay.
It's really important because a lot of people, they want to know about that.
The treatment for astigmatism is so good. In fact, the laser we have now has FDA labeling that it specifically can make the claim that it can effectively treat astigmatism. So astigmatism is when your cornea, the surface of your eyes, shaped more like an egg than a ball. The classical example is your cornea shaped more like a football than a baseball, but nobody's cornea is really shaped like a football. But the thing about it is that now, because of tracking technology and the ability to measure the cornea and the eye optics in a much better way, we can treat astigmatism very accurately. That's basically, with the laser, trying to reshape the cornea so the egg shape becomes more ball shape. And it's very, very effective now, whereas let's say 10 years ago, that type of patient would have been postponed or deferred.
Ann wants to know about time off of work, because obviously this is a big decision and it impacts a lot of things, but How much time do you take off of work to have this done?
It somewhat depends on the type of work you do, but let's say for the average person who has an office job or a white collar job, then pretty much a day or two is all you need for most people. And that's if you have LASIK, if you have all laser LASIK. And again, it's because the flap heals so quickly, the vision recovery is so fast that the optics are improved so quickly that most people can go back to work in a short amount of time. In fact, I've had surgeon colleagues who've booked surgery the next day. Now that I think is a bit aggressive, but
that's true.
I always worry about that. But they did that. Now, if someone's in a situation where they might be exposed to to germs or dust, let's say an ER nurse working in a pediatric unit, or someone working in a warehouse where it's more dusty, perhaps, then they perhaps should take several days to a week off. I mentioned earlier about PRK. That was the original therapy, which is better for a subset of patients. Those patients generally have to take a week off from work to get their full recovery, and that's why PRK isn't as popular as all laser LASIK, basically because of the recovery phase.
And today we did a bunch of them earlier today before we came on. We did some laser surgery, and then Dr. Fichte actually went and did cataract surgery, and now came back now to do the webinar. And invariably today, as someone just asked, what happens if I blink? And we had a couple people blink today. I mean, you're going to blink, so what do you do during the procedure if you blink?
I think it's just important that the surgeon doesn't blink. But again, the tracker, what happens, the tracker that is used in laser surgery is like, as anybody who's traveled has that global recognition, iris recognition that recognizes who you are, that you're not a terrorist or that you are a terrorist. But that locks onto the iris. And so when everybody's eyes move a little bit during surgery.
Sure.
So that the laser is 20 times faster than the eye can move. So it just stays coordinated with your own little tiny eye movements. We also do have a little device that we call an eyelid retainer that just kind of gently keeps your eyes open. It doesn't hurt. Probably that's the most annoying part of the procedure is when that little device gets put in, because you're kind of blinking, fighting against it. People who wear contacts usually don't have a problem with it. They're used to poking themselves in the eye. But people who don't wear contacts, a little bit harder for them. We just get you through it. Remember, I said the anesthetic drops are just awesome. They
work very fast.
Make you numb. So numb is good is one of our mottos.
Well, the big thing about this too is it's your day. We take lots of time. We do a lot of verbal coaching because we've been in that position both as the doctor and also as a patient. So we understand what it's like, and we're not in any hurry. We have the science part of it down to an exact science. The variable is always the person who's in front of us. So some people are extremely nervous, and for that there is a sedative available. If you need to have one, we certainly offer it. We prefer you don't if you don't need it, because we like to have you very much alert, but we also have very good understanding of what it's like to be absolutely terrified to have this done. So we had a couple of patients today. It was the simplest thing in the world for them because they were just very calm. And then we had a couple of patients it was a little more difficult. So we took extra time, spoke to them at length. We took a little bit of a break between eye number 1 and eye number 2. And we made it really into something that for the rest of their lives, hopefully they'll remember it as a very enjoyable, somewhat scary, but very enjoyable process. So talk a little bit about what actually happens near things like the room temperature that people always ask about.
Well, we keep the room temperature a little bit cold, and basically because Kevin's going through male menopause. But
he's the doctor and a comedian.
It's important actually seriously to control the humidity. And so in the summertime, to keep the humidity at a controlled level, because the laser works more efficiently, we'll keep the room at around between 65 and 69 degrees. So we have blankets if someone's cold, and we ask people to perhaps bring a sweater if they're cold. But it's not that big a deal. It's really a very relaxed atmosphere. We've done this 40, 50,000 times collectively, but for every patient, for us, it's your first time. and it's our first time too, and we try to make it that kind of an experience. It's very important. And in truth, every case is different because every human being is different. Everybody brings their own energy to the surgery, and that makes it very special, and we interact with that. And now what can I say? I had this surgery myself 20 years ago when I started doing this, and I thought I better practice what I preach. And it's, that's also one of the questions. Does it last like forever? Well, for me, it's lasted that long. And in medicine, nothing is always and nothing is never. But as a general rule, this surgery is very stable because the cornea is very stable.
So and another point is, like, you'll see I have glasses on. I've had it done, and these glasses are not for my distance. My distance is awesome, but I'm 59 years old, and at 40, 45, everybody needs reading glasses. Whether you have laser done or not, you can be 21 years old and have a high prescription, and if you have it fixed when you get reversed in terms of laser, when you get to your 40s, you're still going to need reading glasses. So I put these very thin +1 glasses on so I can read the box on the side. But the idea is that, reading glasses, yes, for everybody, excuse me, in the future. And there are future treatments coming to help with that also. Another thing, just so you know, I see that someone's asking about how to move forward on getting this process going. This is one way to do it. First of all, you listen to us, you do the research, you find out if it's really something for you, you make the decision. You either call Aaron at 564-4234, or you just call the office and make an appointment, or you come to an open house that we have once a month. But learning, that's the big thing, is, educate yourself. And then our job is also to educate you as much as we possibly can, so there's little surprises to all of us. Through the whole process, you really can't do anything wrong. I mean, it's such down to a science with trackers and things. We make sure that it's worry-free for you as possibly as much as we possibly can that day. Talk a little bit about, in terms of actually having this done. You've had this done, I've had this done, a lot of our staff members have had this done. But say some of the things that actually motivate people to have it. What, in our experience, we've talked
Actually,
to a lot
I think
of people.
that's really important. But I just wanted to say that an evaluation is crucial, because when people come in through the door, they've pretty much made up in their mind. Some people are just getting information, but many have made up their mind this is what they want. So our responsibility is to make sure that this is okay for them to have.
Safety.
So because it is surgery, and it's a wonderful surgery if you're an ideal candidate. That is our job, and we do an extensive amount of testing. People have said it's the best, most extensive eye exam they've ever had. So that's really crucial. But as for people's motivations, they run the whole gamut. And so one of the the common ones, kind of funny, is dads coming in and saying, I can't wear my glasses, but I can't afford to keep on replacing my glasses because my kids, when I wrestle with them, they grab my glasses, they bend them, and then we have some really heartwarming stories where moms will tape their glasses to the headboard at night because, let's say, if the husband's out away at work, they're afraid that if there's an emergency, they won't be able to get their contacts in or find their glasses to help their children. So there's all kinds of, many people do it to get into a profession. New York State troopers is one thing. The military, that's also a big thing. Professionals.
Border Patrol, we've had a lot of Border Patrol.
There's a whole host of reasons. But mainly it's just so they can see the alarm clock in the morning. When they wake up, they say, gee, do I have an extra hour? Or do I have to get up? So especially this time of year when the sun rises at 5:30 in the morning.
We've had a host of specific groups.
You're already up that early.
I'm already here.
Polishing the laser.
I'm here cleaning things up, turning them on.
Okay.
But we get a wide variety of people. But honestly, we get a lot of teachers, special ed teachers. We noticed the other day that we get a lot of dentists, a lot of professions that gravitate towards having this done because it makes their life so much easier. Special ed teachers are a special breed of folk because they're having to educate kids that are a little bit harder to educate, And, you know, sometimes the glasses get knocked off, or, you know, there's a tussle. Same thing with police officers, people like that. I mean, sometimes it's life-changing because you've taken away this barrier that can be pulled off your face, and effectively you can't see without them. And, you know, it's a life-changing event. Again, info@fichte.com or 800-309-2020. You can simply call the office. It's an 800 number, but it's local. It goes right to our call center.
You're taking your glasses off, you know, reminded me of something, is that people will ask, well, how long does it really take to recover and heal from this?
Yeah.
And it's a multifaceted answer because, you know, overnight people are seeing better, and half the people the next morning actually pass the driving test and see 20/20, and then the other half, you know, catch up in a few days or by a week. It somewhat depends on their prescription and so forth. But even though they're seeing very well right away, it does take about 2 to 3 months for people to get their total vision recovery. And the difference, and Kevin's taking his glasses off, reminded me, is the difference at that point is, let's say, the difference between looking through the picture window in your living room or looking through the windshield of your car and stepping outside, that extra Christmas. And glasses kind of do the same thing. And one of the wonderful breakthroughs in this procedure, by adopting, you know, mathematical physics technology that astronomers and space scientists have used forever, is that now we can measure optics in the eye that go beyond, you know, nearsightedness or astigmatism. One way you can think about that is, you know, everybody's been in an eye doctor exam, and they ask you, which is better, number 1 or number 2? And you reach a point where you say, well, gee, neither one is really that clear. I can't make up my mind. It's just a little, each one's a little bit off. Well, that's due to something called higher order aberrations, which is, you know, it's an astronomer physics term that we can't put that into a prescription for contacts or for glasses, but we can measure that, and that's what causes some of the issues that people have, like with night vision. And so we can actually treat that to some degree. I can't say we treat that perfectly because we're only in the 21st century, but we can reduce that, and that's actually what led the Navy and the space program to allow their astronauts, to actually encourage their astronauts and their Top Gun pilots to have this done, because they found that their pilots' vision was improved beyond what could be done with glasses, you know, contacts, or even, you know, natural eyesight. So 85% of patients, not just based on our data, but on FDA published data, now report that with this modern, you know, the latest technology that we have, that patients see better at night than they did before surgery with their glasses or contacts. That's kind of huge. That's a big, that was really, until that data became readily available, that really kind of held back the military services from allowing this to be done. And now it's actually encouraged and actually provided by the military to some of their key personnel.
And just so you know, on the screen that you have, there should be an orange button to the side. If you click on that, it takes you to a link so that you can request a free screening. We do a free screening where you can come in and, for basic information, find out, for your purposes and our purposes, if this is a good idea. It's not the full-blown 2.5-hour eye exam that we do to make sure you're really a candidate, but it's at least it's a starting point to get you involved in the process to start out. So, and we always learn from each other. We've been doing this together for a long time, and he learns things and teaches me, and I learn things that people tell me, that we talk about it. Like the other day, we were talking about when he says, you know, the better one, better two. I heard someone voice this very well when they said, you know, when you're having the exam to have this done, there's actually 12 steps in between 1 and 2 that the computers measure. So, you know, to the small nuances, we can improve your vision to all kinds of ways and means. We have a lot of people that have the best vision they've ever had, better than glasses, better than contacts, because you're fixing all the things that the typical machines can't measure. Well, these machines can measure, because you go through a very detailed computer analysis and mapping of your eye prior to any procedure. And then you get a world-class surgeon like Dr. Fichte, Drs. Endl and Elmer, sit down and look at all that information, They go through all the step-by-step decision-making process, and only then do they say yes or no. And about 10% of the time, we have to say no. People come in, and for safety reasons, they shouldn't have it done because their eye just doesn't support the treatment for a variety of reasons, because of thickness or because of prescription. And the big thing, talk about dryness, because dryness in the eyes is prevalent a lot. And if you don't have it before procedure, you're going to have slightly after. But we know about that. We treat it. We make sure that you heal best, not having dry eyes. So talk a little bit about dryness.
Well, when you make the laser flap, you do disrupt some of the fine nerve endings that make the cornea sensitive to feeling dry. And so that takes about 2-3 months to repair it in almost all people. There's very few people where it may take longer. So since we do, cause some relative dryness in patients for a transient period of time, we want to make sure that people don't have a dry eye problem before we start. And so if we find, in fact, that was one of the major problems with this surgery when it first came out, because people were having dry eye issues. This issue is much less because people are aware of it and are managing it much better proactively. So if we find someone has a borderline dry eye issue, we treat that and make sure it's better than borderline, that it's back to normal before we recommend surgery. If someone, due to a medical condition or a certain medication that they just have to take, has a significant dry eye issue, then those are people that we sadly say, I'm sorry, we really can't help you, because, again, our first rule is do no harm. And so we don't want to make you worse. For the average person, so about half the patients don't, they look at us afterwards and say, I don't know why you got me all
worked up,
because my eyes are fine. The other half, where there is some issue, they need to take artificial tears, and once in a while we may have to put a small temporary plug in their tear drainage duct to help keep their tears around longer. And again, in almost all people, that goes away within 1 to 3 months' time.
Katie, I just want to address this because she wrote on the side here. She said, I have a consultation scheduled in August. Should I do a free screening first? Really, no, because the screening process is for those who are just kind of starting out and they're kind of wanting to learn about it. But when you come in for the evaluation, one of the first things we do as part of that evaluation, if we can figure that you're not going to be a good candidate, almost right away we're going to say to you, let's either do a regular eye exam or let's do something else, and we don't charge for that. And in the sense that if you do go through the full evaluation process, yes, there's a cost of $150 that is applied towards your surgery, so you're not paying for it twice, and you're paying for that because you're having a lot of testing done with a lot of very expensive instrumentation. But in terms of Katie's sense, no, if you already have an evaluation and you want to come in and have that done, that's the best way, because when you have the eval, it's a long appointment, and we tell you when you're going to be here 2.5 hours, sometimes even 3. Plan it, because there's so many things that we do, so many tests we do to make sure we do no harm and that we don't cause your problems. So it's a very, very thorough eye exam, unlike you've ever had done before. So that's important to make a point of that. So once again, by attending tonight, you do get the $50 off per eye, and we do appreciate that. And obviously, we're not going to answer all your questions tonight, but the idea is call us. If you have a question, we get a lot of questions we don't get to answer. Call the office, talk to Erin. That's what she does. And she's very good at what she does. So call up. She'll spend time on the phone with you before you can come down here. So we do highly encourage that. So good. Concluding remarks, we just have a few minutes left. I'm checking my timer here. We've just got a few more. So I just want to make a couple of other points too. I see on the side a couple more times people have said, and I respect this completely, because people say, is it painful? And yeah, we talked about the painful part of it. It really isn't. I mean, the idea is we use very powerful numbing drops. The same drops you use on the inside of the eye when you do cataract surgery are used on the outside of the eye to make your eye perfectly numb. Dr. Fichte is like the most, he gives you a lot of numbing drops, so I'm trying to say. He'll ask you over and over, how does it feel? And we had a patient today who said, I have a little more feeling in my left eye. So we waited, we gave him more drops to make sure that you're comfortably numb. Yeah. And then the idea is pressure, no pain. We can dull, the pain feeling, but you're going to feel a little pressure on your eye, but nothing that you can't handle. I can promise you that. So we'll look forward to having you call us and come in. maybe in conclusion, talk a little bit about like where we're going in terms of how we do surgeries. You know, right now, is there a lot of big changes coming up? Because I always hear people say, I'm going to wait till the next best thing. And if you do that, you'll never have it done, because right now the lasers are is unbelievably good, and there's a lot of them out there. And we happen to have 4 of them. So talk about what how you feel about the state of the art is.
You know, there is really nothing major coming down the road in terms of everyday LASIK. There isn't anything coming that will help the ordinary good LASIK candidate patient. What is coming is new technology to help those that 5 to 10% who are not candidates now. And there's technology coming that will allow us to treat that. It's been available in Europe for several years and is just now in the final stages of FDA approval here in the United States. But this is not going to help, again, the average patient. It will help those patients who have kind of unusual conditions due to, let's say, prior injuries, due to scars, due to perhaps certain medical diseases that make their corneas less stable. So those types of things are improving because the technology we have now is just amazing. It's
Very much so.
it's very, very high tech. So not to say there's the next quantum leap is probably 10, 15 years away.
And
Right
just-
now, a lot of changes, a lot of breakthroughs are coming through in cataract surgery. Right, that's another story, and that's actually the lens inside the eye behind the pupil that changes as we age. And it's that stiffness of the lens that as we age that causes everyone to need reading glasses or bifocals when they reach, like age 45, give or take. And so that has nothing to do with the cornea or with LASIK surgery. If someone has LASIK surgery at age 25, it's not going to make them go into reading glasses any sooner or later. So that's a different story. Now, there are things being studied right now in terms of LASIK treatment patterns that might eliminate the reading glass issue as people get older. So that is down the road, but that's still in testing stages.
And I know not to ignore people too, because there's a lot of questions on our sidebar too. And someone asked me about lazy eye, and they say, if I have an amblyopic, which is a fancy term for lazy eye, is it correctable, or is it not even a good idea to have this done? And honestly, you could correct the vision as only as good as the retina, the back of the eye, allows for. But we've had people who have been amblyopic that have very close to perfect vision, not quite perfect vision, and the perfect vision with correction in front of them. We've done the laser procedure on them, and yes, quite successfully. So if someone's told you that because you have a turned eye or because you have astigmatism or a lot of these things that sound like they're not fixable, they are. So the best way to learn that is to come in and have the evaluation, because because of that eye exam, we can give you a lot of information.
Okay.
Well, I'm looking at our
Thank
time
you.
here, and I just want to say that we have come up to 6:42, so you've got another minute or two.
Let's go.
But what I want to tell you is this: to make sure, it sounds like a telethon after a while. Pledge your dollars. No, what I really want you to do is to make sure you call, because all kidding aside, a half an hour is never going to give you enough information, just to have us answer all the questions. And we realize that. That's why we tried to do these every couple months. And it's kind of a nice way, because it allows you to meet the docs, talk to them one-on-one with questions like that. But more importantly, the comfort of your home. Some of the questions you ask are the same questions that everybody has. So by you asking those questions, it really helps us to help you, because, does it hurt? How much does it cost? What's involved? How much time off of work? All those things are really important, because for you to make a decision, that's how you make a decision. So we really appreciate you coming tonight. So conclusion, you have anything you want to say?
Well, thank you for joining us this evening. It's always a privilege when someone entrusts their eyesight to us. That's really, a sacred trust that they pass on to us, and we never take that for granted. To us, it's always a privilege. Every patient, I thank them for trusting their eyesight to me and giving me the opportunity to make a positive impact on their life. It is a life-changing event. It's a gift that keeps on giving, and we just do the very best to try and meet your goals.
Well, thank you again. The chat box will be up for another couple moments if you'd like to ask Aaron anything. But again, call us. Basically, call us or send us an email. We'll get right back to you. So I thank you for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks again. Bye.
Good evening.